Hello, everyone. Welcome to this incredible masterclass, Sleeping In, Making Sourdough, and 20K. I'm going to share this in the Midlife Womenpreneur Success community. If you are not in there, make sure you join because it's an incredible space to connect, to share, and to shift. I'm going to share this in the group and we are going to get started. Perfect. So, this is such a fun masterclass and a fun story because it's so real and it's so raw. And I just want to offer you this thought before we step into this work. If working harder was the answer, you would already be rich, right? I've been telling people for years, like if we did exactly what we knew or thought we were supposed to do, like we would have everything that we desired. But what holds us back? I'm going to tell you about the moment that this masterclass was born because it's so fun, it's so personal, and it's so incredible. A few weeks ago, I was on a call with my VA manager, Desi. Love her. She's great. This is a group call. It's kind of open. It's like a workflow. I come when I have questions, I ask her, and I seek and lean in for support. It's open to all of her clients. It was a Monday morning, and she asked how we were doing. And I casually just said, honestly, I'm feeling amazing. Yesterday was a Sunday. I slept until 9:30. I don't remember the last time I've done that. Then my husband brought me breakfast in bed. The kids were entertained in the other room. So we just watched 2 episodes of Chosen before I even left my room. I didn't even leave my bedroom till noon. It was incredible. And a little bit later on that same call, I got up to grab my sourdough out of the oven because I love sourdough and I love baking it. And I heard someone else on the call say, sleeping in and sourdough? Like, how does she do it? And that moment hit me because so many women think success comes from overworking, grinding, constantly doing more. But what if I told you the exact opposite is true? You guys, what if making more money wasn't about doing more, but about allowing more? What if your exhaustion is actually repelling success instead of creating it? What if your business could actually support your life instead of drain it? How incredible would that be? If you're here on this masterclass or you're watching the replay, drop your name in the chat, share what you do. And if if anything in what I say today resonates with you, drop an emoji, drop like an amen, a thumbs up if it's resonating with you, because I want to hear from you. I want to support you. And I want to help you expand in this same exact way. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack today, because I used to be the woman who thought that I had to prove myself through effort. Anyone raise your hand if you're like, got to do more, got to prove myself, got to keep diving in, got to keep pushing through. But the truth is, success came for me when I finally learned how to receive, which is something that women are not always good at. We as women are not like, haven't done in our lives. We weren't taught to do. We didn't do it a lot. We are givers. And especially for someone who is a people pleaser, right? Raise your hand if you're like, yep, I like to make everyone happy all the time. That was me for most of my life. Just raise your hand. Say like, hey, I resonate with this. This is exactly what happens. I want to talk to you about why working harder is actually keeping you stuck. Why the work harder mindset is like putting you in a box and you feel like you're just like going to one side of the box and going to the other side of the box and you're stuck in a maze and you just can't find your way out and it feels exhausting and it feels overwhelming and there's always something to do. Most of us are taught that success equals effort, right? We need to put in a lot of effort. We need to work hard, right? This doesn't come easy. Money doesn't grow on trees, right? Insert whatever thought, belief that either came from you, that was learned, or came from someone else who taught you or who you were influenced by in your life. We were taught that if you're not getting results, the answer is to try harder, to work longer, to push through. Now, I am all about hard work, you guys. Like I show up and I grind and I have grit and I have resilience. but the pushing through, the needing to do more, the when you're tired, when you are exhausted, when you're overwhelmed, that helps no one. It helps no one. Let's just be real. Like, have you ever worked a crazy number of hours in a week? Raise your hand. Like, how many hours on average do you work? And even though you're working all those hours, even though you're doing all these things, you still feel like you're behind, right? It's like there's always something to do. I got to go back in my office, right? Do you say that? That used to be my story all the time, right? Like, well, there's always something to do. There's always something I can do. And while that's true, such a different energy now. There are things I get to do. There are things on my exciting, shiny object list that I actually like create time for, right? It's not just scrambling. It's not just putting out the fires. Have you ever worked a crazy number of hours in a week and wondered why the money isn't flowing like it should be? Right? Like I work so hard, I dive in so deep, I show up, and yet there's still nothing I feel to show for it. And have you ever worked a crazy number of hours in a week and ended up feeling resentful towards your own business? I've been there, right? You're like, oh my gosh, like I love this work, but like it's like I hate being here. I hate working all these hours. So if you're just showing up or if you are watching the replay, drop your name, drop where you're from, what you do. I want to hear from you and be raising your hand if any of this resonates with you or drop in the chat anything you want to share. Right? Because I've been there. I've worked the crazy numbers of hours in a week and still felt like I was behind and like I could never catch up. And I wondered why the money wasn't flowing like it should. And I ended up feeling resentful towards my business, not towards my clients. I loved what I do and I love coaching, but like all the little things, right? It's like all the little things that tend to add up. I've been there. You guys, when I was a nurse, I worked really long shifts. I ground through exhaustion. I carried that same mentality into entrepreneurship, right? Thinking that if I just worked harder, if I explained things more thoroughly, if I put in more hours, things would finally click. But here's what I learned the hard way. The harder you push, the more you reinforce the belief that success requires struggle. And here's what else I learned the hard way. You don't make money by working. You make money by being in alignment. Let me repeat that. You don't make money by working, by grinding. You make money by being in alignment. And I'm going to explain and dive into what that really means as we go along. So let me give you an example. When I started trusting my faith, my energy, and my ability to receive, my business shifted freaky fast. It was so incredible, right? Because I was just doing and I'm like, it should come and it should be there. And here I am putting in all the time. I used to joke when I my first coaching gig, right? I'd like to say is like I was a Beachbody coach and I literally was probably making maybe 10 cents an hour. Like I slept 3 hours a night, 3 to 4 hours a night. I was like working. I was loving it. I loved the connections, but I was burning the candle at both ends. And I'm like, this is going to work. This is going to work. This is going to work. And I kept pushing and kept going. I kept going, but I didn't ever once stop and allow myself to receive. You guys, I know this can sound simple and it is. And that's why I'm here because I want you all to feel this. I want you all to step into this. I want to teach you how to do this so that you can stop the hustle. You can stop the grind. You can stop the push and you can receive. And it's really freaking fun. So I had a 20K month last month in January, but I didn't do anything drastic, you guys. I slept in, I made sourdough, right? I allowed money to come in because I wasn't gripping it so tight. Right? My whole relationship around money changed. My whole relationship around receiving changed. And the amount of, work that I feel like I need to do or that I should do has shifted entirely. And that's the magic that happens when we interrupt our thought patterns. So the question is, are you gripping too tight? Are you gripping that need for money too tight? Are you gripping that that need for work or for proving yourself or for validation too tight? Are you chasing and controlling every little thing in your business? Think about it. Or are you creating space for abundance to flow in? Like when is the last time? I'm just curious. I work from a place of no judgment. I am just curious if you are creating space for abundance to flow. I'm curious the last time you sat down, you closed your eyes and you opened your hands and you said, I am here. I am ready to receive. Because money doesn't respond to effort. It responds to alignment. And that's why I want to talk to you about the biggest energy leaks that might be holding you or blocking you back from receiving more. Leak number one. Now, if any of these leaks resonate with you, if you're like, me, and if you like don't want to share in the chat, just private message me, right? I'm taking a look at my messages all the time because I love you guys and I'm here to support you. And I want to teach you this so that you can receive more too. So leak number one, the overthinker's trap. Are you an overthinker? Have you ever been an overthinker in your life? We all have tendencies of many things, right? So just because I say this doesn't mean it's a bad thing, right? I just finished reading the book Mindset by Carol Dweck. She talks about growth mindset and fixed mindset. And I started reading it and I'm like, I have a fixed mindset. And of course, later in the book, she's like, everyone has tendencies of both. We are human beings. Right. And so have you ever been an overthinker? Have you ever like had something come up and you're like, the thought goes here, the thought goes here, the thought goes here. You start ruminating. You're like, what if, and what if, and what if, right? I see this with so many women, right? We have over 30,000 thoughts a day. Is that 30 thoughts a minute? I think that breaks down to, right? Like a thought every 2 seconds. Our brains are freaking brilliant, you guys. They work so fast. So I see this with so many women. You're constantly like tweaking your offers, tweaking or second guessing what you have to share with the world. You might be waiting for the perfect time. Have you guys ever waited for the perfect time to like drop something? Or you're over researching instead of doing, or here's the one I hear the most is like, well, I've got to get this other training before I can do this or before I'm able to do that. And yes, there are professions that you want to be trained in and you need to be trained in, right? I had to go to school as a nurse and become qualified and certified as a nurse to do that job. But you guys, you have so much inside of you. You are so capable of your expertise and what you offer and the experience in your life. And instead of going out to get another certification, I want you to take a look and say, what do I have now? And only then get a certification if it's something that sparks you, that's so intriguing that you want to learn about, not because you need it, right? Think about that. Here's an example. I worked with a client who wanted to launch a high ticket program, but she kept getting stuck in all the details, right? What if it's not good enough? What if people don't buy? What if it's not enough? What if it's not like this other program? And the result, she spent months thinking about it instead of selling it. And what do you think her final outcome was? Nothing. She stayed stuck in this loop of overwhelm. Here's how you fix this. You make a decision. And for overthinkers and for perfectionists, this is hard. I know some of you are like maybe seizing. You're like, oh my gosh, it's scary. It is scary. But think about future you and send her love. Say like, oh my gosh, do I want to see her just walking around this box and hitting the sides for another 4 years? Or am I going to show her so much love when she steps forward and does something so freaking scary that scares the crap out of her? And maybe that 10 people told her she couldn't do. Do you know how many people told me that this really wasn't a business and still tell me that? Or that, when I shifted into nurse case management, there was a job I was pursuing for 2 years. My friends were so sweet. They're like, you know what, Helen, maybe you should look for something else. Like, they're never going to call you, dude. You guys, I had to do really scary things to get into big rooms, to get to where I am today. And that's the support and encouragement that I share with the world, that I want to share with you, that I do share with you because you're worth it. You are worth more than spinning around in a box and hitting the walls for years. So I want you to decide and then act. And then here's the fun thing. Here's the fun thing. You get to adjust later. You have no idea how you can improve until you take action, and gather the data. So many of us just like, and got to make it perfect. And we never get out of our box, right? But when we make action, when we break out, we're like, oh, okay, that didn't work. Wow, thank you for showing me that. My failures are some of the funnest things right now in my life. Because I'm like, that's so interesting, right? Like that was a decision that I won't make again, but I learned from it. And I'm so freaking grateful for it versus beating myself up, versus feeling the shame. It's so incredible. So I want you to think progress over perfection. Yes, I know you feel safer when you have everything lined out perfectly. I know. But when you chase the safety in perfection, you will never leave the nest. You will just keep spinning circles around your plan. And your plan is meant for this world. You are meant for this world. Quit holding yourself back. Messy action moves you forward faster than perfect planning. So, you guys, I want you to let go of the overthinker's trap. Just notice it when it happens. Even if you just don't even know it's happening and now you notice it, huge, huge growth. Leak number two that's happening in this whole process, that's happening with your energy leaks and what's blocking you from receiving more, the prove it syndrome. When I said this, like, I'm just curious what you guys thought. If you're like, oh, yeah, I have that, even though I haven't explained it yet, right? Maybe you have your own explanation. The prove it syndrome. You feel like you have to work for every dollar you make. You believe you have to over deliver to deserve success. Now, I over deliver in everything I do. I show up and I do my best and I give 100%. And it's like so worth it for people to work with me. But I know it's worth it. And I show up in that. But I'm not like, oh, and then I need to do more. And then I need to do this. And then I'm not doing enough, right? So this was me when I first transitioned to life coaching, from life coaching, or from fitness coaching to life coaching. And now I shifted into success coaching, right? I felt like I had to pile on value, offer extra calls, lower my prices just to prove I was worth it. And that proved nothing. All that did was lead me to more burnout. But unlike some deep-seated beliefs learned during childhood, money isn't something you earn through suffering. Let me say that again. Money is not something you earn through suffering. I don't know about you guys, but like, that's how I envisioned it. Those were my beliefs growing up. Is it like you had to be exhausted? You had to sit down at the table and do book work every month, and nothing ever turned out and it never went well, and it was just really hard, and times are tough, and we're pinching our pennies, and money doesn't grow on trees. And my parents said all of those things, and people who loved me, they said those things out of love and out of their safety and protection. But guess what? We carry those beliefs forward. And so, are you willing to interrupt your thought patterns so you can break free of these patterns? You do not need to do more to be worthy of success. You need to own your expertise and charge accordingly, and show up in the energy of your confidence and your worthiness. And it is so attractive. And it's like contagious, right? My clients say all the time, they're like, this is just contagious, right? It's like everybody can see it in me. Everybody's noticing a change. Everybody's seeing a shift in my confidence. And it's incredible. Leak number three, the disconnected leader. Now, again, none of this is like, oh, you might hear some of these things. You're like, oh man, I've got so much work to do, right? Like, I want you to instead think like, what one thing can I take from this? And how can I shift and change? How will I choose to shift and change? So the disconnected leader, are you running on fumes? Are you making decisions from stress instead of faith? Like, you guys, this was me for a long time. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm showing up. That's why I'm sharing this. A successful business doesn't happen because you have the perfect business plan, or it doesn't happen when you're smarter than everyone else. You guys, I am so freaking human. I am not the smartest person in the room, but I might be the most contagious and the most jovial and the most confident and the one who questions my thoughts and your thoughts the most, because that's what matters. For example, this weekend, I signed my daughter up for a wrestling tournament, and I signed her up for the wrong town, right? I'm not perfect. I'm not the smartest person in the room, and I don't want to be, but I do want to be the most curious, and I do want to show up in my confidence and my worthiness, because that is true for me, and that's true for you. And that's how you need to show up too, to create the life and the business of your dreams. And when I say you don't have to have the perfect business plan, you don't. Up until 2 years ago, when I sought out business advising from a local entity, she's like, what's your business plan look like? I'm like, I don't have a business plan. And I say this in all honesty, because you guys, I've grown this business to a beautiful place, and you can grow your life and business to the most beautiful place without having it perfectly laid out. And I've done so much work, and I've done so much research, and I've read the books, and I've shown up for the advising, and I've shifted, and I've got a budget, and I've got all the things, but you don't need those to get started. And you don't need those to have success. They're tools that help you. And that's what I teach, right? You don't have to be smarter than everyone else. And a business, AKA you are your business, is successful when there is alignment with your organizational health, an awareness, an acknowledgement, and a drive to learn more and shift accordingly, right? What are your vision? What are your values for your business, for your life, for this project, right? For example, I start every morning sitting in my office chair. I've got a beautiful green chair. I bought it off the marketplace on Facebook years ago, talking to the Lord. I sit there quietly. I say, please come to work with me today. Please come into my life today and help me and guide me and lead me. And I allow myself to be filled. And I do that before this masterclass. I do that before anything I do, right? Because I need that organizational health within me versus my thoughts pinging and pinging and pinging. And I should do more and I need to do more and I have to do this and this still has to be done. It's like, whoo, hey girl, I see you, right? If I skip that, I notice a difference in my energy and other people notice it too. Your business cannot operate from an empty tank. You have to stay connected to what fuels you, and finding that, yes, takes time, but it's so freaking worth it. And I help women find that all the time. So here's what I want you to do. Here's how I want you to shift your mindset and your strategy, how I made 20K while doing what I'm aligned to do, while doing less, while not burning out at both ends. I want you to, number one, align your energy first. Success does not come from checking more things off the list. And are any of you guys like, yep, I'm a checker, I'm a to-do list, right? I feel you. But it doesn't come from checking more things off the list. It comes from aligning yourself first. And the work I do in coaching by helping people discover, right, their thoughts, interrupt their thought patterns, and through hypnotherapy, the subconscious work, cha-ching, freaking fascinating, you guys. It's awesome. So I want you to ask yourself, here's 2 questions, write them down. You can answer them now, share them in the chat if you want, answer them later, spend time with them, right? So many people, I'm like, hey, here's what I want you to do. Here's your homework. I want you to stop working. I want you to sit down and I want you to do this for 5 minutes. Some women do. Some women are like, I can't do that. I've got work to do. I want you to ask yourself these questions. What kind of energy am I leading with today? Are you hurried? You can ask my husband. I used to be in a hurry all the freaking time. Now I'm still, not always on time perfectly, but I'm working on that. And that's awesome. But I'm not in a freaking hurry, because what happens when you're in a hurry? You miss things. Your anger shows up. Your frustration shows up. You're not your best version. And you actually don't usually get there any sooner, right? You don't arrive any sooner. You're just in a terrible mood as you go through it. So you get to say, like, what kind of energy am I leading with today? And if you find that the answer to that question is not aligned with you, that's okay. This is an awareness, right? I want you to say, hey, girl, I love you. You've been working hard, but hey, we're going to change some things around here. And then you can ask, what kind of energy do I want to lead with today? And you can start to align those beautifully. Here's another question I have for you. Am I in trust mode or control mode? Any control freaks out there? Type A, right? I remember, you guys, I just had this memory pop into my head. This is how much of control I needed to have in my life, based on my experiences, based on what was around me, based on what I knew and learned, and the ways I protected myself. I remember in grade school one time, our teacher asked Ben, he was a student in our class. She asked Ben to wrap the hose up, and he didn't do it like I did it. So after he was done wrapping the hose up, I went over to the hose and I undid it and I wrapped it up how I do it. And the teacher talked to me, and I'm glad she did. I hated it at the time, but I'm glad she did, because I thought, right, and this is how, for the first few years of my business and as a nurse, I ran my life, right? Like, I have to be in control. Does anyone like not give their kids tasks to do because it's just a mess, right? Like kids folding. I've heard moms say this. They're like, well, I don't have my kids fold their clothes because like it's a freaking mess. And I'm like, let it be a mess. And then you teach them, and then you support them, and you encourage them in it. Because I don't know about you guys, but when my kids leave this house, I want them to learn and know how to do more than just go through the drive-thru at McDonald's. Amen. Like, amen. Right. And so, you guys, this is the same thing in our business. Like, what do you have a pull so hard down on that, like, it can't even breathe? It can't even get out. It can't even receive. So, I want you to align your energy first. What kind of energy am I leading with today? And am I in trust mode or control mode? Then I encourage you to shift from force to flow. I have tried to force so many things in my life, right? And I remember this so vividly when I had my struggle with infertility. Like, I was really in a dark place and I was trying to force it. And you got to get married and you got the house and next comes kids, and that wasn't happening. But I didn't stop and align. I didn't stop and say, like, okay, what can I do to support myself? I just kept like, this needs to happen right now. I remember being in the doctor's office, in the fertility doctor's office. And I don't remember all the details, but I must have been screaming at him or crying. And I said, I don't care who gets me pregnant. I don't care if you get me pregnant, but I better get pregnant. And at that moment, he pulled out the card. He pulled out a card and he handed it to me. And he said, I think you need to talk to this person. It was for a psychiatrist. I was pissed. Right? I was in such a space where, like, I was forcing it. I was trying to force it versus letting it flow. So instead of constantly asking, what else do I need to do? Try this question. Ask, how can I allow this to be easy? Oh my gosh. Did you feel like, I just felt like a lightness? Like, I want you to write this down. Someone type it in the chat if they can while I'm talking. How can I allow this to be easy? What a freaking magical question. Right? I have a sticky note above my desk that says, is this something I love to do? If it isn't, I identify, can I delegate the work? If you have kids or you have a friend or someone who's really tech savvy, can you delegate this thing that's frustrating you? Or maybe you have a VA, or maybe you have someone on your team, right? If it doesn't light my fire, can I delegate this work? Or if I can't, but I want to in the future, I put it on my shiny object list. I put it on in my budget so I can start budgeting it in, because money flows when there's space. Healthy energy flows when you allow it, when you create it, right? And it's beautiful. So, beautiful thing from this. How can I allow this to be easy? Whew, what a fun freaking question. And the third thing I want you to do is expand without exhaustion. Scaling doesn't mean working more hours. It means making your business work for you. When was the last time you sat down and took a look at it? You sat down and had a conversation with your business. You said, hey, here's what I'm doing, right? And here's what's working. What isn't working. You guys, I spend more time evaluating and saying what's working, what's not working, what do I want to change, and aligning than I do in the work, than I do working in my business. And at first, the transition will feel hard because you'll be like, I'm not actually doing something. I need to be doing something. I need to be doing something else. I need to be like showing something. And guess what? It's so beautiful when you can align it. So you guys, this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. This is like my favorite phrase right now. This is just the beginning. This is only the beginning, because it's so freaking true in life and everything in this space. Right now, you have two choices. You can take everything I shared today, feel inspired, like you just got out of a motivational speech, and try to figure it all out on your own. Or you can step into real freaking transformation where you don't just know this, but you live it. Where you stop hustling, overthinking, and second guessing, and you start creating the business and life that you actually want. Not one that controls you, but one that you actually want, one that you control. And that's exactly what we do inside the Amplify Academy. This is why I built the Amplify Academy, because so many women are building businesses that drain them instead of support them. This is not just another course or one-off coaching session. This is your space to shift with support and encouragement, to build a business that works for you, not against you, to create effortless success, real momentum, and consistent income without working yourself into the ground or into the grave, right? You were not made to be tending your grave. You were made to live this life. You were made to support yourself and create the heaven here on earth. And you guys, if anything today resonated with you, imagine what happens when you have the support, when you have the strategy, when you have the sisterhood every step of the way. So if you are ready to step into this for real, let's talk. I'm right here. I want you to drop the words "I'm ready" into the chat or drop them in a DM directly to me, and I'll send you the next steps. Because you guys, the life and business you're craving, it's right here waiting. You just have to say yes. I love you guys so much. I'm so grateful for you. Close your eyes right now. Just open your hands and say, I receive. I'm here to receive. And I open my hands and my heart to it today in this moment. Thank you so much. I love you. I'll talk to you so very soon.